guys, it's Jade, and currently I am in Europe for a few months, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you guys go to the link in my bio. It will take you to the video explaining why I'm in Europe, what I'm doing there, and all the places I am going to. So if you guys haven't watched that video already, make sure you guys do. So since I am in Europe right now, this is a pre-film video, and since I have a lot of videos I have to film right before I leave for my trip, I'm mainly trying to do quick and easy videos. Quick to film, quick to edit, but I really did kind of want to do a book wrap up for the books I have read this year and give you guys kind of mini reviews. But if you guys have seen any of my other like review videos on books, I usually kind of ramble for a bit, and since I need to not be rambling so long, so this video isn't super long, so it doesn't take a long time to edit, I need to be doing kind of more quick reviews, so I thought I would make a game out of it. So I'm going to be doing quickie book reviews. I'm going to put a timer on my phone for 2 minutes, and when that buzzer sounds, I need to wrap up what I'm saying within the next 30 seconds or so. So I thought this would be a fun way to make sure this video isn't going super long and these reviews are nice and short. I have only read 5 books so far this year, which actually is really good because I've been in a really bad reading slump for like the past year, and I didn't read books like for quite a lot last year. So 5 books so far in about 4 months isn't bad for me. I've definitely though been getting more into reading lately because it did take me a while to get to read the first book. I don't think I read it until like February. So about a month I wasn't even reading anything, so it's really only been 3 months. I'm so happy I'm starting to get out of this reading slump and get back into reading books, which is what I love to do. So since I'm doing quick reviews, I'm not really going to be giving a big summary or synopsis about what these books are about, but you guys can definitely go on Goodreads and Amazon if it does interest you, but I'll be telling you just a little bit kind of like what genre it's in and like the basic plot of the book. Alright, I have 2 minutes set on my phone, which I will start after I give you guys the title and the author of the book. So the first book I read this year was My Lady Jane by Cynthia Han, Jodi Meadows, and Brody Ashton. Alright, so starting the timer now. So this book is like a fantasy retelling of Lady Jane, who became queen for like 9 days and then was beheaded. So they took kind of that story and made it their own with this whole thing of how there are magical people who can turn into animals and they're kind of being witch hunted. And so this book is about this girl named Jane who has to get married because her friend, who is the king, is dying, and so he wants her to become queen. So she needs to get married to someone, and he happens to be one of these Ethians. That's what they call the people who turn into animals. And so it's this whole really fantastical adventure book, and it's also really funny. These 3 are some of my favorite authors. I've read all of their series. They are all really great authors, so I was really excited to hear that they were coming out with a book all together. The book is told from a few different perspectives, more than 3, so I'm assuming each author took 1 or 2 different perspectives to tell it from. So I did really enjoy this book. It was really funny. It was unique. It wasn't really what I was expecting. It was a lot funnier than I thought it would be. Jane is such a great character. She's like ahead of her time. She's like reading books, and she doesn't really want to get married, and she's like, you know, the typical girl in that time period who's suffocated by the demands of women then. And then when she meets her husband, he becomes a really cool character too. And just how they kind of weave the real parts of history with all the stuff they made up, it made for just a really fun book that I enjoyed quite a lot. I had a lot of fun with this book. So if you guys are looking for a book that kind of is crap. The timer just went off. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up. So if you guys are looking for a book that's kind of a little bit based in history but gives a really fun, unique twist on it and is magical and a little bit of a fantasy and just really funny, I would definitely recommend you guys check this book out. And I did end up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read this year was The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. And putting 2 minutes on the clock. And go! Okay, so this book is a retelling of 1,000 Arabian Nights. So this is kind of like I don't really know what genre this is. It's not a fantasy novel. It's kind of like a dystopian. I don't exactly know what genre it is, but it's a retelling, so I guess that's the genre. And so it takes place in a different world in the Middle East, and it's definitely a world without technology. So probably around the time period that Aladdin takes place in. So it's about this girl named Shahrazad who decides to give herself up to the prince who has been getting married to one girl each day and then killing her the next morning. and her best friend got taken and was killed. So she decides to volunteer so that she can go and kill the prince. So when she gets there, she's determined to live past morning. And by doing that, she tells him stories. I think a lot of the stories are based off of 1,000 Arabian Nights. So she starts telling him stories, and that gets him intrigued and makes him not kill her right away. And so then she kind of starts to find out that things aren't what she thought. The prince isn't the monster she really thought he was, and there are and that was quick. All right, I get it! And so that's really the main plot of this book. It is beautifully told. I really liked the spin that Renee put on Aladdin and 1,000 Arabian Nights. I thought it was really cool. You could see elements of the story, but it was definitely its whole own book, and I really enjoyed all the characters in it. Shahrazad is a great heroine. She's brash and bold, and she's not afraid to speak her mind, and she's super brave and courageous, and is a great heroine to read about. And also seeing the prince and his layers get peeled back as Shahrazad gets to know him better was great. And reading this book, I got sucked into the world by the beautiful writing and the characters, and wondering the whole book, you know, why is the prince doing this, and waiting to hear, and Shahrazad with her waiting to hear as well as to why he's doing all this, because she does start to develop feelings for him. So I did really enjoy this book, and I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then because I loved The Wrath and the Dawn so much, I immediately, when I finished reading it, ordered the sequel, The Rose and the Dagger, also of course by Renee Adahey. Alright, so 2 minutes on the clock and go! Okay, so I'm obviously not going to tell you guys what happens in this book because that would spoil the first book for you, but it does continue on with the story of Shahrazad and the prince and all the other characters that were affected by the decision that Shahrazad made to give herself up to the prince. So this book basically picks up where the last book ended. I think these two books really only take place over a few months, maybe like 6 months or so, so it's pretty short. I did like the first book a little bit better than this one, but I did end up giving it the same rating. I did really love this book. I thought it was a really good conclusion to the story because it is just a duology. The wrap up of the characters and some storylines that happened in the first book, and getting to know some other characters better, and some characters getting completely turned around, and you know, you going from one minute from really liking them and then really hating them, and seeing all the pain and suffering that happens was heartbreaking to read about, but it was also just, again, a beautiful story. It's so well written, these books. I have a lot of admiration for Renee, so I definitely want to read other books by her. I know she has another one out, so I'm going to see about picking that one up too. So I really did enjoy this series. I gave both books 4.5 out of 5 stars because there was just a little something that was missing from giving them 5 stars. Like for me, to give a book 5 stars, I just have to have this feeling. So that feeling just wasn't there. And perfect timing! So yeah, gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was one I'd been wanting to read for about a year now since it came out, since it's a new book by like my top 3 favorite authors of all time. But again, since I was in such a reading slump, it took me a long time to get into. But after reading the Wrath and the Dawn series, I was in like quite a good reading mood, so I decided to pick it up, and I'm so happy I finally did. And that is The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead. Alright, so I have 2 minutes on the clock, though I'm almost positive I'm going to go over it by about a minute because this book I think will take a little bit more time to even just explain the basic synopsis. The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead is the first book in a new series by her. So it's kind of like a reimagining of the beginning of America and like why people are coming over. So this story is about this girl. I totally forgot her name at the beginning of the book because she ends up stealing someone else's identity, but she is an aristocratic lady. So her family is broke because her parents died. So she's with her grandma, and she wants to marry her off to a wealthy suitor. She doesn't really have many suitors, so she ends up getting an offer from this guy that she really doesn't want to marry at all, and she just feels stifled by her life. And so she finds out that her maid, who has to be let go because of money-wise, is going to start in this thing called the Glittering Court, where they take girls who do not come from wealthy families and are not aristocratic ladies and train them to be aristocrats and part of that society, and then they ship them off to the land that's America in this book that I can't remember quite right now. It's a new place where these men are coming up with money and they need nice wives, so what they do is they train them for a year. So then they send them over to Adoria to get married. So she takes on the role of her maid, Adelaide, and pretends to be her. And then while she's there, she meets these 2 girls. Jesus Christ, that was quick. I knew this one was gonna take a while. So this story is about these 3 girls, but this book specifically focuses on Adelaide and her story. And the other 2 books in the series are each gonna focus on one of the other girls, Mira and Tamsin. I really enjoyed the twists in this book and the whole story and the characters. I loved Adelaide. I thought she was a fantastic heroine to follow along with, and I really did enjoy the other girls too and their mysteries, because the other 2 girls have all these mysteries kind of around them. There are things you don't know about them that happens during the book, because the other 2 books are going to be the exact same story, like the exact same time period, but told from the other girl's perspective. So it will fill in a lot of the gaps. I'm really excited to continue on with this series. I love this book so much. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I was just so enraptured by this book. I love the characters. I love the setting. I love the writing. I have never read a book by Rochelle I didn't like. 5 out of 5 stars for The Glittering Court. And the last book I finished reading was 99 Days by Katie Katungo, which is a contemporary novel. The only contemporary novel on this whole list. Alright, and last review, so let me put 2 minutes on the clock one more time. And go. Okay, so this is a contemporary novel about this girl named Julia who leaves her small town that she's lived in her whole life right before her senior year because her mom is an author and took inspiration from her daughter Julia's heartbreak that happened with her. She confided in her mom about this really tough thing with her, and her mom ended up writing a book that was kind of inspired by that, and then she gave an interview saying it was based on her daughter's life. So the whole town kind of turned against her because she did something that was not great, and so she runs from town because she's just getting so much hate. She can't deal with it and goes to boarding school. And so this book takes place the summer before she's going off to college. She has to go back after her senior year to this small town. So while it has died down a little bit, a lot of the people from her high school still hate her, still think what she did was horrendous, call her slut. She's having a really hard time in the town. So the only person who really talks to her is Gabe, who is the person that she did something she wasn't supposed to do with and caused a lot of heartache and pain. Even though it doesn't say what happened till like halfway through the book, you can kind of get a sense within the first few chapters of what happens. Oh my god! This is so hard to do! I love this book. I thought it was a great contemporary book. It deals with a subject that some people are going to hate. You're gonna hate Julia because of what she did. And while, again, it's not a good thing what she did, you know, it was something she shouldn't have done. It was a wrong thing to do. But, you know, we're humans. We make mistakes. And so I felt so hard for this girl. You know, she made a mistake. And unfortunately for her, it was blasted everywhere. It was a great story of love and betrayal. It wasn't like just a super fluffy contemporary read. It dealt with a hard subject and like kind of the repercussions of that when you're a teenager and, you know, everything is kind of blown out of proportion. I really felt for Julia. I loved her character, her relationships with how she was dealing with this whole thing, and I also really liked how the story was told. So it's kind of like a diary entry sort of. So I loved this book. I thought it was kind of exactly what I was wanting to read, and it was just a great contemporary book. This is exactly what I want to read when I read a contemporary. So I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was great, and I just want to say though that while I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, that doesn't mean I like this more than The Glittering Court. I think The Glittering Court is a better book, but I kind of tried to rate books based on what they're trying to do, and I think what this book was trying to do, it did perfectly. I think you guys will really enjoy this book. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Alright, well that is it for my quickie reviews of the books I read so far this year, even though I kind of failed at it because I went over on almost all of them, but it was more kind of just to remind me that, oh hey, yeah, I have already gone 2 minutes. I need to not go another 2 minutes, so to wrap it up. So it was an interesting way to do book reviews. Let me know what you guys thought of it and if it's something you think I should do again, but hopefully maybe with more success doing kind of like quickie, small, short little book reviews. And if you guys did like this video, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, and if you guys are not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. And that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name is Jade, and I'll be seeing you guys soon with a new video. Bye!